The purpose of this video is to describe the out-of-class assignments for next week. This deals with the subject of documenting your work. First of all, why is it important to document your work? It's a serious problem if you represent the work of someone else as your own. And the way we get around that is to cite in various ways work done by other people. We'll talk more about that in class. There are penalties for not citing work. For example, here at Bradley, the penalty is a 0 for an assignment that contains plagiarism. Plagiarism just isn't a problem at the academic level. There's a lot of documentation out there about professionals who have plagiarized, and the link you see here on the screen takes us to a summary prepared by the New York Times newspaper that describes many different types of plagiarism. Here it is up on the screen, and if I were to scroll down, notice on the bottom that it has 734 articles. So that's quite a bit, right? Quite a bit of information about plagiarism by people outside of academia. Here's two examples that I took screenshots of to give you an idea. One of these is dealing with a U.S. Senator. His name is John Walsh from Montana, and after he was appointed to the Senate as a replacement for another senator, it was found out that he plagiarized a good part of the thesis that he wrote for his master's degree. So he was forced to not go for re-election, and the school actually took away his degree. Another example from a U.S. Senator whose name is Rand Paul from Kentucky. You'll see on the screen here several references to Wikipedia. Senator Paul was caught using information published in Wikipedia in one of his speeches and not giving credit for that. So Bradley also takes this seriously, and it's now requiring all incoming freshmen to complete a awareness module and quiz on plagiarism. So for the first out-of-class assignment, you see a link here on the screen, and it takes you to the plagiarism awareness module. That will begin with a little video introduction. It will be followed by a reading assignment, and then there's a 10-question quiz, and actually to take that quiz you have to log in with your Bradley login ID, and Bradley keeps a record of doing that. I took the quiz, and if you pay attention to the material leading up to it, you shouldn't have any trouble. The second out-of-class assignment deals with looking at a program we have here on campus called Turnitin. Basically, when you submit your paper to Turnitin, it starts comparing it to what is saved in the Turnitin database. This includes a very, very, very large repository of articles and websites, and it also includes a history of other papers that have been turned in. So if something that the student turns in too closely matches what's in the database, it's going to be reported. So there's a web page describing how Turnitin works, and if you follow the link to that, you'll see that video there, and you can review the operation of Turnitin. The third assignment, and this is probably the shortest of all, it's what I'll describe over the next couple of slides. It deals with why documentation is important. And in accounting and auditing and tax work and all kinds of other areas where we can land, you have to develop conclusions about things. And the documentation has to be there so that somebody who maybe has some general understanding of how accounting works, of how auditing works, can look at what you've done and be able to work backwards to see how you developed your conclusions, what you used as a support for your conclusions. And so we need to be detailed in the documentation to allow somebody to work backwards. You might remember this question from class when we were looking at the FASB codification, right? We had to look up whether or not a business that collects a credit card fee should recognize the fee as income or should delay the recognition of the fee and recognize it over some period of time. Well, we found out that the answer was delay, and if I wanted to document where I found that in the codification, I would have to record ASC 310-20-25-15, right? So the ASC tells us it's the Accounting Standards Codification, and then we've included the number of the topic, the subtopic, the section, and the paragraph. If you don't include that whole citation, the person looking at what you've done can't work backwards. For example, if I just document it using ASC 310, that's going to take the user to the receivables, but then what section should they look at, right? There's 4 of them that we see on the screen, and beneath that a lot of other information. You know, and even if we went down a little bit further to 310-20-25, that gets us down to recognition, but if I were to click open recognition, we see that there's 27 more paragraphs in that section. So just having a light, incomplete part of your citation to some professional source is not going to be helpful, satisfactory, or useful to somebody who maybe after you're gone has to look and see what you did. So in summary, the out-of-class assignments are to review the Bradley Plagiarism Awareness Module and Quiz, to review the operation of Turnitin, and what you've seen over the last couple slides, understand why detailed documentation is important. There'll be 10 questions on the in-class quiz. 5 of them come from the section on plagiarism, 4 from questions on Turnitin, and there'll be 1 question related to detailed documentation. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with you on Tuesday or Thursday.